The 2.25 mile Oulton Park Island Circuit is the venue for this week's Motorsport UK. Let's get to the grid for the Porsche Carrera Cup with Michael Caine and Sam Hancock on the front row, Tim Bridgman and Tim Harvey right behind them. Paul O'Neill is back in the championship. Jake Rosenberg, after a fantastic race last time out, finds himself closer to the back than to the front. Doesn't that look fantastic as we loose off the cars down towards the first corner, and there's a stall on the back of the grid. Simon Hill.
Yeah, that was Rosenzweig you were talking about earlier, but it's Michael Caine who sweeps into the lead. Bit of a wobble in the middle there from a couple of drivers to see Nigel Rice and one of the Jota cars, and that must have been Quake that was on the grass. They're ever so easily done. Through the left-hander at Cascades, they're all kind of swobbling for the middle positions there. On the outside, a very squirrely car. That was Paul O'Neill in one of the Porsche Cars GB. Just behind him was Ed Peed making his debut in one of these cars.
And Rosenberg has got going. He's that little white speck coming towards our camera now. He's got an awful lot to do. Hasn't really got his head around this circuit. He was superb at Snetterton last time out, and he qualified second, but he's much closer to the back this time. Now, down towards the Knickerbrook chicane. The dust is the oil drive from one of the earlier races. Nobody really wants to go through that, and someone's on the grass there in the background.
Sorry, John, it was Tony Gillam. Him and Quaife were side by side going through that corner before that, and I think they just kind of bounced over each other. That was Pippa Mann just getting going there now. This is Nigel Rice. What a great start he got. Then he had nowhere to go. Phil Quaife had a really bogged down, or had some sort of problem at start.
Twice in 2 races for Quaife. He hasn't had 2 good starts.
No, he did have a great start. He's off onto the grass there. Rice kind of follows him there. Pippa Mann there, the lady race now. This is looking like what happened here. You see, that's Michael Caine, Bridgman in the background. Watch for sideways, clattering into each other. Quaife and Gillam, and then Gillam, the light front part of the car, of course, because there's no weight in the front of a Carrera Cup car. That hits the heavy bit at the back of Quaife's car where the engine is, and that turns him round.
Through there, good. There's the top 6 then. Oh, and there's another problem exactly the same place, and that's the 78 Apex car. Dear, oh dear. Managed to keep it running.
Yeah, Glyn Geddy fighting for the lead of the Pro Am2 Championship. The 17-year-old Scotsman has been outstanding in a couple of races he's done so far. Last time, he just goes into the
way in.
Overcooked it on the way in, too fast in, and just ran wide onto the grass, and that was him. Quaife now under pressure from Paul O'Neill.
Really flinging that 60 car around. You could see it getting very light indeed. Paul O'Neill back in the championship. This is his home circuit, of course. Race touring cars. Couple of seasons back now, and he's been trying to get a full-time drive, but he's been racing Dodge Vipers, of course, in the British GT Championship, and loving every moment of it.
Yeah, had a win earlier this year with Steve Clark at Rockingham, a fantastic result. There was also raced in the little Ginetta G50s, so he's not been sitting at home watching a telly, and Paul's always a great lad to have around. As you say, he's from Liverpool originally, and he really loves this circuit. Well, in fact, who doesn't love this circuit? I think every driver there. The man who's loving it the most at the moment is Michael Caine. Look at this move, though. He leaves it quite late, gets to the inside. Quaife is very fair. It gives him a little bit of room. Doesn't want to get into contact for 2 reasons. One is obviously in the short term, he doesn't want to injure or damage his car, however you want to put it. But also he knows that Paul O'Neill's car doesn't count for championship points because it's a guest car, so it doesn't want to affect his championship challenge at all.
Yes, but also there's a bit of somebody. Sounds like they over-revved the car there. Yes, I just heard it in the background. That's the 41 car, Michael Leonard, the KB Motorsport. This is one of 2 Irish brothers who've come into the championship this weekend. What happened here? Heard the big revs of the engine. There he is, and the noise of going through the gravel. Well, he's done well actually to get hold of that and get it back on. 2 brothers stepping up quite dramatically. They've been used to driving front-wheel drive Fiats in a one-make championship in Ireland.
Yeah, they've raced in the Fiat Punto Challenge in the past, but they've been racing Porsches recently in the GT Cup, which was actually at Oulton Park only a couple of weeks before this event, and in fact they won a race apiece. Carl and Michael each winning a race. As Quaife, well, that Jota car doesn't look like it's working the way he would like it. Jota Sport have been impressive. Sam Hancock winning 2 races already this year, and both Quaife and Hancock being on the podium. Now, very sideways. Paul, no way. Look at that. Nearly took out his teammate, Ed Peed. Well, Ed Peed's a name you'll know from the Clio Cup, finishing runner-up in the Clio Cup on 3 occasions. He's been very quick in some endurance races he's done as well. And Pete, he's loving the chance. He's been badgering Porsche. Please let me have a go in one of your cars. I'd love to have a go. And he's loving it and making the most of it. Look at the damage to O'Neill's car.
Yeah, he got a good run after a slight mistake by this orange and white car just ahead of him. And it goes wide. Now, thinks he's got a chance here, Simon. And just as he comes out, well, we're just going to see it here, again from another angle. You see on our right, O'Neill trying to go the long way around, thinks he's got a chance, gets his nose ahead, and at this point he's really thinking, shall I cut back or shall I tough it out on the outside? And for me, makes the wrong decision.
Yeah, just runs out of grip, but gets more and more out of shape. He's very, very lucky not only to avoid clattering into Ed P, but also to avoid slapping the car back the other way into the wall. And you can see that the pair of them are looking like they're enjoying themselves. I think Paul Robe, who's the boss of Power Motorsport,
oh, no,
is going to be watching. Well, poor old... Paul O'Neill's moment seemed to last about half a lap there, really, didn't it?
Value, though, isn't he? You've got to give him that. You know, he's got the car and the telly a bit, and that'll please Paul Robe from Power Motorsport. You can't say he's not trying. I've got a feeling he's not doing the rear tyres very much good at all. Here's Tim Harvey, battling for the championship, of course. Michael Caine, unfortunately, the man he's trying to chase down the championship, has been really on top form this weekend. Oh, sad to say, the 42 car has gone around.
Monday there in the RSS performance car. Interesting that one of the guys involved with that team is Matt Kelly, former British production saloon driver, has raced in sports cars a bit himself, and of course a little bit of world touring cars as well, European as
well
it was.
Remembered again, yeah.
So now a hot and smoky end to Paul O'Neill's car, and Paul in his Mick Hakkinen style of design. Well, I can imagine there's a few little choice little scouse words coming out there from his disappointment, but I'm sure he will have enjoyed himself so far. But Caine is absolutely imperious. Watching him in qualifying the other day, he was just on the edge everywhere. The car looked balanced. Parker Racing have done a brilliant job with the car, and Tim Harvey is going to have to work very hard to get something out of this weekend.
Well, you can just see as he turns it in there again. He's turning it in, the back of the car just starting to slide. Michael doesn't mind a bit of a loose back end, oversteer, of course. And all the weight's in the back here. You've got to be supremely confident with that car, with all the engine weight hanging out over the back of the back axle. Now that is a problem. That's a puncture. Now that is... oh, that's the 5 car. I was going to say that's one of the cars we saw battling earlier on, but it's not Quaife, it's his teammate Hancock.
Well, Hancock was looking good for a possible podium, and that's really going to put a dent into his championship challenge as well. He pulls the car off to the left-hand side as they come down to the hairpin, and doesn't even bother trying to get it back to the pits. He knows that this late in the race, that's really game over, and very, very disappointed. Wonder if there was contact, or wonder if it was just a matter of maybe the tyres getting a bit hot with some high cambers or something.
Well, it's good news, though, for this car, Tim Harvey, because he's up another position, hasn't had to overtake for it, up to 3rd place, so the points deficit between this man, Michael Caine, and his championship contenders have just closed up a bit. Oh, that's a very unhappy Sam Hancock. He's going to climb out over the... oh, now that's the other team car. Now, this one was having a bit of a battle earlier on for Phil Quaife. Remember, we saw him in close company with Paul O'Neill, and it's the same side of wheel, Simon. Oh, my goodness me, have they got it slightly wrong?
Well, it would look like that, wouldn't it? Either tyre pressures or cambers, or possibly just the drivers having such both of well, I can't say that about Sam Hancock because we didn't see much of him, but certainly Quaife has had a fairly robust race, hasn't he? But this man here, back at the front of the pack, the Stace, the Antistat, the Auto Express car, has been driven by a man at the top of his game. He loves Oulton Park. He's just driven away, and that, I think, Jake, one of the boys from Joe to Sport, just running around the car and just looking at, oh dear, that's not a nice job for a mechanic, is it?
Don't let that touch your legs, because that will be absolutely scalding hot. It's going to be another tyre on. Now, meantime, Tony Gillam in the green car is being driven right around the outside, and that's not an easy thing to do either. Tremendous bit of driving. Yeah,
Rosenzweig nearly getting it done. He ended up running a bit wide. This is a section which is really daunting in any of these cars. You can see how much the back end of that Carrera Cup car is moving. Remember, 420 horsepower, flat 6, 3.6 litre engine, superbly driven, superbly engineered, and it's going to be job done, surely, for Michael Caine.
Well, he's had the handle on this car all weekend. Even his teammate Tim Bridgman couldn't stay with him, and Michael Caine will win it, making it a 1-2 for Team Parker Racing. Harvey in third place keeps his championship hopes alive, but he's a distant third to those two Team Parker Racing cars. Caine wins it then, and the class winners, Ed P.